So far this unit, we have been working with expressions, how to simplify expressions. And all of that we've been learning because we are going to eventually use all of that to then solve equations. Now, there's another thing that we do with expressions called factoring. And factoring is when we basically reverse some of the multiplication that we've done. So today we're going to learn the very first step to factoring, which is called factoring a polynomial by finding its GCF. So the first thing that I want to review with you is just what in the world is a GCF? Many of you are probably sitting there going, I know what a GCF is. It is the largest number that goes into a set of numbers, right? So let's write that. So yes, it's called greatest common factor. What that means is it's the largest number that goes into a set of numbers evenly. So, for example, the GCF of 12 and 18 is 6 because 6 is the largest number that can go into both 12 and 18 evenly. The GCF of 8 is 32 because 8 is the biggest number that will go into both of those numbers evenly. The GCF of 6 and 25 is 1 because 1 is the largest number that goes into both 6 and 25 evenly. So stop the video for just a moment and finish these next two sentences. So you should have gotten that 4 is the GCF of 24, 36, and 40 because 4 is the largest number that goes into each number evenly. The GCF of 12, 15, 16, and 21 is 1 because 1 is the largest number that can go into all four numbers, right? There are other numbers that go into 3 out of 4 of them, but there isn't anything other than 1 that goes into all 4 of them. Now, when 1 is the GCF of a set of numbers, we say that these numbers are relatively prime. So the word prime numbers are numbers where there's only 1 in itself. So for example, 7 is a prime number because only 1 and 7 go into it. 11 is a prime number because only 1 and 11 go into 11, right? Well, when you're looking at a set of numbers, these numbers are not prime. Each number has something that can divide by it besides 1 in itself. But together, because only 1 goes into each of them, we call them relatively prime. So take a moment to look at problems 1 through 4, stop the video, and see if you can find out what the greatest common factor of each of those is. So stop the video, come back to me, and see if you did it correctly. All right, so if you did this correctly, you should have gotten 16, 1, 6, and 15. Now, let's go back for just a moment because what if you accidentally put 8 here? 8 is a factor of 80 and 32, but it's not the greatest common factor. So here's a helpful thing that you can do, right? I think in elementary school, you just wrote down all of the factors for 80, all of the factors of 32, and you found the one that was biggest. We don't have to do that. What you can do is you can just say, okay, you look at 80 and 32 and you're like, okay, I know that 8 goes into both of these numbers. So if you think that 8 is the biggest number, what you do is you just divide each number by 8. So if I divide 80 by 8, I get 10. If I divide 32 by 8, I get 4, right? Then you look at the 10 and the 4 and you're like, wait a second, is there anything that goes into 10 and 4? And the answer to that is yes. 2, right? So I started by dividing by 8. Well, now I can divide the 10 and the 4 by 2. And so I can divide by 2 again, right? And that's going to give me 5 and 2. So what that means is that since both 8 and 2 go into what's left, 8 times 2 is 16. That means 16 will go into that as well. So it's kind of like you can try to reduce it, and then the things you're reducing it by, you just multiply together. That will give you your greatest common factor. All right. For number 2, I just knew that 1 was the only one because my only factors of 11 are 1, 2, 11, and 22, and none of those go into 45, right? For this one, number 3, it's 6. We can just double check, make sure that's right. 18 divided by 6 is 3. 24 divided by 6 is 4. 36 divided by 6 is 6. And then you look at all three of those numbers and go, can we divide those again? If we could, then we would divide them again, and then we would just multiply the two things together. All right? A mistake lots of people put for number 4 is they say that 5 is. So if you take a moment and just divide this, like let's say you said 5 was the one. 30 divided by 5 is 6, 45 divided by 5 is 9, and 60 divided by 5 is 12. And if you look, what also goes into 6, 9, and 12 is 3, right? So we divide it by 5 first, and now if I divide by 3, 5 times 3 is 15, right? And so that will bring me down to the lowest. 6 divided by 3 is 2, 9 divided by 3 is 3, 12 divided by 3 is 4. Is there anything that goes into 2, 3, and 4 besides 1? No. So you have your two factors that went into those. Those will give you your GCF. Okay? So now let's talk about variables. So for variables, thinking about what the GCF of x squared and x to the third is, before we can answer this, we need to list the factors of x squared and x to the third. So starting from the very beginning, x squared can be divided by 1. So 1 is a factor, right? Because x squared divided by 1 is x squared. It also can be divided by x, because x squared divided by x is x. It also can be divided by x squared, because x squared divided by x squared is 1. We can't go any further than x squared, because if I do x squared divided by x to the third, that's going to give me 1 over x, which is a fraction, which means nothing goes into that. X to the third doesn't go into it evenly. All right, so now x to the third, we've got the same pattern. We have 1, x goes into x to the third, x to the second goes into x to the third, and x to the third goes into x to the third, right? So now the question is, what's the greatest common factor? Well, the greatest common factor is x to the second. So the GCF of these is x to the second. So now if you think about it, for number 6, the GCF of x to the third and x is just x, because if I list all of my factors of x to the third, that's what I get. But for x, it's just 1 and x. So the largest one that they have in common is x. So for number 7, m to the fourth and m to the sixth, the GCF would have to be m to the fourth. So basically the greatest common factor is as many m's as that they have in common. So since we've got a maximum of 4 that they have in common, it's got to be m to the fourth. So take a moment, try 8, 9, 8 and 9. All right, you should have gotten y to the third, and then you should have gotten x to the second, y to the third, right? Because y to the third is the amount that they all have in common. Like there are 3 total in the 4, but there are 3 total here. For this one, x to the second, they have at least 2 x's in common and at least 3 y's in common. So it's x squared y to the third. Go ahead, stop the video, try the next 2. There you go. For number 10, you should have gotten x to the fourth. For number 11, it's w to the sixth, x, y to the second. So basically what you're doing is you're taking the least amount that each term has in common. So now let's combine numbers and variables. So basically 12x to the fourth and 20x to the third, we're looking for the GCF of 12 and 20. So the largest number that goes into both 12 and 20 would be 4. And then it would be x to the third, because they have a total of 3 x's in common. Now you could double check to see if you're right by dividing both of those numbers by what you think the GCF is and seeing if they have any factors in common, right? So 12x to the fourth divided by 4x to the third is going to give you 3x, and then 20x to the third divided by 4x to the third is going to give you 5. So then do you have any factors in common? No, there are no more x's in common. There's nothing that goes into 3 and 5, so that's how you know you got the biggest one. So stop the video, try 13, 14, and 15, and come back to me. All right, for number 13, you only could have x squared, right? They all have at least 2 x's in common. There's nothing that goes into 20, 10, and 3, so it's just x squared. With this one, it would be 9x to the 6th, y to the 3rd, because they have, if I can divide both 18 and 27 by 9, and then they have at least 6 x's in common and at least 3 y's in common. So it's always going to be the least of the exponent that you have. Number 15, it's just plain old 8. You can't put an A on it because 40 doesn't have an A. Okay, so now let's just switch gears a little bit. I want you to simplify these three expressions by just applying the distributive property. That's all I want you to do. So stop the video, distribute, and then tune back into the video. So double check to make sure you got those three correct. What we're going to do now is we're going to think, can I take my answers that I got here and bring it back to the problem? And so what we're going to do is we're going to take this 3x to the 24, 3x plus 24, and we're going to ask ourselves, is there a greatest common factor of 3x and 4? And the answer is yes. 3 is the GCF of 3x and 24. So if you think about it, I can put the 3 down. Now if I divide each of these numbers by 3x, I'm going to be left with x plus 8. And if you look, that's exactly what we started with. Okay, what we just did there is we factored 3x plus 24 into 3 times x plus 8. Now let's look at this one. What's the GCF of 20x squared and 24x? Well, the GCF of 20 and 24 is 4. They both have an x in common. So we're going to basically pull out the 4x. And what's left now on the inside is what's left in our parentheses. So if I divide 20x squared by 4x, I'm left with 5x. And if I divide 24x divided by 4x, I'm left with 6. So what I just did is I factored that polynomial by pulling out the GCF. Same idea with the last one. The GCF of these three terms, look, there's a hint, is 6. If I pull the 6 out of that, if I divide each of these terms by 6, I'm going to be left with what was left inside the parentheses, which is x squared plus 3x plus 5. Basically, that's how you factor by GCF. You take every term and you pull out the GCF, and what you're doing when you factor is you're writing what the problem looked like before we simplified it. Now, when you're factoring by pulling out a GCF, you have to follow a couple of rules. One is if there's no GCF of all the terms except for one, then we write prime. The next two are ones that people mess up on. If the first term is negative, we're going to factor out a negative GCF rather than a positive GCF. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight that, and I think you should too in some way, shape, or form. If the first term is negative, you factor out a negative GCF, all right? If the first term is negative and the GCF is 1, you factor out a negative 1 so that the first term becomes positive. So it has everything to do with what the first term in the polynomial is. If the first term is negative, you're always going to pull out a negative. But if it's negative and the GCF is 1, you're going to pull out a negative 1. So the only time you're going to pull out a negative GCF is if that first term is negative. Okay? So let's try a couple. So the very first one, first thing you want to do is ask yourself, what is the GCF of 28x and 21? And it's 7. So we start by writing down the 7, and then you do your parentheses, and I basically divide 28x by 7 to give me 4x, and 21 divided by 7 gives me 3. So I'm left with 7 times 4x minus 3. So the factors of 28x minus 21 is 7 and 4x minus 3. You can check your answer by going ahead and distributing it back in and see if you bring it back to this. You also should look to see if there's numbers here that still have numbers you can pull out, you're not finished. All right? So let's take a look at number 2. Number 2, notice the first term is negative. So if the first term is negative, you factor out a negative GCF. So here, the GCF of negative 8, 4, and negative 16, the GCF of 8, 4, and 16 is 4. But because the first term is negative, we're going to pull out a negative 4. And we'll talk later about why that's important. So now what you do is you divide every single one of those terms by negative 4. So you divide those all by negative 4, you're going to be left with positive 2x squared minus x plus 4. So whenever you pull out a negative, what you're doing, oops, I forgot my x squared. What you're doing when you pull out a negative is you're making sure the first term inside your parentheses is positive. All right? All right, now let's take a look at the next one, 3x minus 14. Here, the GCF of 3x and 14 is 1. So if there's no GCF except for 1, we write that this is prime. So this polynomial we're going to say is prime because it cannot be factored further. All right? Okay, let's take a look at number 4. So for number 4, notice that there are variables here as well, and the first term is negative. Because the first term is negative, I'm going to pull out a negative GCF, and they have 18 in common, right? So I'm going to pull out negative 18, and they both have an x in common. So the GCF is negative 18x. So I write that number down, and then I divide each term by negative 18x, which is going to leave me with positive y minus 1. Okay, so be careful with that. 18x divided by negative 18x it cancels out because it's equal to 1. So you need to have that placeholder as your 1, because if I'm going to check it, if I distribute this back in, it will bring me back to this. All right, stop the video, try 5 and 6 on your own, and then come back to see if you've done it correctly. All right, for number 5, the GCF is 2, so that hangs out here. Divide each term by 2, and you're left with 3x squared plus x plus 8. Now number 6 is prime, right? You may have thought that it was 3. You may have thought that there was an x, but then because we've got this y squared here, not all 3 have x's, not all 3 terms have a factor in common, and so we just have to say it's prime. It has to be all 3 terms, all right? Stop the video. I want you to try 7, 8, and 9, and then come back to me. Let's see if you can do it. And here are your answers to those 3. A mistake that I often see for number 8, if you said that this was prime, you're not going to write prime if the first term is negative. If the first term is negative, you have to pull out a negative number, so I pulled out a negative 1. You often will see the answer written without the 1 and just the negative sign in front of the parentheses. Whenever you pull out a negative, all the signs of your terms are going to change to the opposite. All right? Okay, I want you to try the last 3 on your own as well, and I will tell you, none of them are prime. You can do something to all 3 of them. So stop the video, try 10, 11, and 12. So here are the answers to the next 3. So on number 10, if you thought that one was prime, you have to remember you're also pulling out variables that they have in common. All right? Number 11, if you thought that one was prime, the first term is negative. So you always have to pull out a negative GCF. But since it was negative 1, I just put a negative out here. The signs inside here changed. For number 12, forgetting your variables is it something that people do wrong, not pulling out the biggest number. So let's say you pulled out a negative 4. The same trick works here with GCFs, right? Let's say you didn't pull out an 8, you pulled out a 2 or a 4. If you look at your answer and what's left, there's still something that can get pulled out of each of these numbers. So if you still have something else you can pull out, you can go ahead and now pull it out, and then it'll bring you back to this answer. All right, I can explain that more in class the next time I see you. That's it for today.